The very first Monday Night Raw of the new year is in the books. The big January 5th Stranger Things WWE Raw, headlined by the World Heavyweight Championship match. CM Punk defending against Bron Breakker. And I gotta say, I think tonight's show was pretty underwhelming. I was expecting more. Now, we should note that we did see 2 title changes tonight, which was kind of a big deal. And those matches were fine, especially the women's tag was pretty good. In terms of the main event, though, I'm really curious to see and to hear what your opinions are of that. Now, I was kind of hoping that CM Punk would retain because Bron Breakker, of course, WWE never shuts the fuck up about how he is going to be the next big thing, and he's going to be a WrestleMania main eventer, and he's going to be a Hall of Famer one day, blah, 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 right? And I think a star of that caliber, somebody who WWE is so high on, I think if they're going to have their first moment, you should try to make that moment happen on the biggest stage. And I think a WrestleMania moment or a WrestleMania victory winning a world title would be much bigger than doing it here on Raw. Now, Seth Rollins' injury might have changed up everything creatively, but I think WWE is going to try, essentially now it looks like based on the outcome of that match, that they're going to stay the course with Bron Breakker because at least from where I sat, Breakker clearly is going to be a world champion one day, but I was thinking that would come at the very earliest mid to late 2026. With Rollins' injury, that moved that up a little bit. Now we're kind of thinking WrestleMania. And we've even heard reports recently, even prior to tonight's title match, that he was an early behind-the-scenes favorite to win the Royal Rumble. So if that's the case, they never really planned on him winning the championship tonight anyway. But based on the outcome of this match, the fact that all of the Vision interfered there, and Punk got the Luchadors to run them off, Dragon Lee and Penta and Ray all came out to brawl with the Vision and get them out of the way, and that allowed CM Punk to beat Bron Breakker on his own. So I think naturally, based on how the finish of that match went, you're going to have maybe some debate online, some fans that thinking, oh, they did Bron Breakker wrong here or whatever. No, they didn't. This is CM Punk. This is one of the top stars in pro wrestling history, let alone right now. And you got to remember, who did Punk beat to win that title? You know, he beat Gunther, didn't he? And then, of course, he won it back, beating Jey Uso. But he beat Gunther at SummerSlam, did he not? So he won it there, and then he was able to, win it back when Rollins got injured. But Punk has victories over major people. And when you look at the level of star that Punk is, and you compare that to the future that Bron Breakker has, a loss here doesn't really mean much. Now, I am surprised it went down the way it did. Punk essentially just outworked Bron Breakker and countered a couple of those spears because Bron was laying his game plan out there for everyone. Spear 1, 2, 3, spear 1, 2, 3. So Punk was like, I ain't gonna let you spear me then. And he did a pretty good job of neutralizing and avoiding the spear at all costs. And I think overall he was able to overcome not only the odds with the Vision, but the intensity of Bron Breakker. And again, Breakker has had a few losses like this, right? Jey Uso and Sami Zayn and Punk now, I think, all kind of have clean victories over Bron Breakker. So they are showing that Bron Breakker is human, but he is, at some point going to reach that level. I think this might be another learning experience loss. Maybe he's going to perhaps blame the Vision for getting involved. Hey, I had this match won until you fuckers came out there. Maybe this is planting seeds for his eventual split from them, because if he is going to win the title, I don't know if he's going to be the centerpiece of a faction. I think he might be better off on his own, or so maybe he splits off with them completely, or maybe Heyman sticks with him and they split away from the Vision. Who knows? But, maybe that's going to be the beginning of the planting of the seeds of their split when that does happen in the future. But a few months ago, prior to Seth Rollins' injury, I had kind of pegged SummerSlam to be the launching point for Bron Breakker. And I referenced the match that Brock and Rock had in 2002. And I say, you just put the belt back on Roman Reigns somehow, whether he wins it at the Rumble or at WrestleMania or whatever. You got that World Heavyweight title on Roman Reigns going into SummerSlam. And then you've got Breakker. I don't know. He either gets the shot on his own or he wins the King of the Ring or however the fuck you do it now. You get the title shot at SummerSlam and you book Reigns and Breakker a lot like you booked Rock and Brock. So, I thought that was going to be more appropriate of a time span for him winning the title back then, prior to Rollins' injury. But now, anything was possible, including Breakker winning the title tonight, which might have shocked me, but might have been something that WWE wanted to do just to let the fans know, hey, we're not fucking around this year. We might have had a quiet one last year. We might be butthurt about Sports Illustrated giving all their awards to the other guys, so we want to do better. That would be great if they had that thought, but they probably don't. And Punk is still the champion, and I'm actually fine with that. I would still like to see Cody and Punk at WrestleMania. That match is a little bit more intriguing to me than Cody and Roman, but Cody and Roman is rumored to be a heavy favorite. Cody and Roman 3 at WrestleMania, so that could be booked a million different ways. But now with Punk retaining here, does he survive the Rumble? Does he take the title into WrestleMania? You know, we got an Elimination Chamber in Chicago as well, don't forget. So Punk might be champion going into WrestleMania since he retained here. And we just have to wait and see. Also, no Chris Jericho tonight. Thought we might see him. WWE's dropping all kinds of hints about Chris Jericho. Adam Pearce in his little weekly Monday Raw hype video that he posts on social media. He mentioned something about breaking the walls down. And then they mentioned Learning Tree tonight on commentary. Jericho is coming into the company. So no matter how butthurt Jonathan Coachman or people like that get about people don't really know, look, motherfuckers, we know. Chris Jericho is coming into the WWE. He is coming back. He will be back. We will see him back. The only question is when. We don't know when. We have no earthly idea. WWE knows that we know. That's why they're teasing us. So now it's just a matter of when he comes back, and I think when he does, we could see him in a bunch of places. We could see him here in WWE. We could see him turn up in TNA. And even in AAA, if they wanted to do that. But Jericho is coming back. Maybe we were going to see him tonight. And I thought that coming back tonight would probably provide the biggest reaction from the fans, because since we all know he's coming in, if he were to debut in the Rumble or something, we would see that coming. We would not be that surprised. Yeah, there he is. We knew we were going to see him any day now. He's back in the Rumble. So coming out here or being a masked man or being involved in the title match, I thought would have been fun. But whenever he turns up or however he turns up, I hope it's done in the most surprising way possible. So we will see. But no Jericho tonight. But we'll roll through the results here of Monday Night Raw. And like I said, let me know what you thought of the show. It looks like a lot of you are considering it a disappointing show or a B show. I don't know. I'll give it a... I was maybe too kind to World's End, so I should maybe be too kind to Raw to make up for it. Normally, I might grade this show a C, but I'll give it a B. I gave World's End a B to B+, and I kind of think that was a little generous. So Raw, I'll give a B tonight, too. Wasn't horrible, but I was expecting a little bit more from them. And it was a very weird co-promotion here, or cross-promotion, I should say, with Stranger Things, which already wrapped up its finale on New Year's Eve, and now they're doing this themed show. Now, AEW does this sometimes with some of those TNT shows, so WWE's just doing the same thing here with Netflix, and they had all sorts of Stranger Things shit all over the ringside area and the vines on the barricades and stuff, so that was kind of cool, I guess, but it was just kind of an odd thing, just because both shows are on Netflix, and that's the only reason they're doing this. But anyway, the show opened up with the Women's Tag Team Championships on the line. It was the Kabukis. They're defending against Io Sky and Rhea Ripley. Wasn't really sure how this one was going to go, because I don't know what the plans for Rhea Ripley is going to be for WrestleMania. And I'm still assuming that she's going to be a part of the main event scene, but she's been doing this thing with Io Sky now that not that she still can't, but I also think there's still another match to be had between those two, and they are so overly friendly. They are like early Mega Powers friendly. You know, they're just so in love with each other that they're really hyping up how much they get along. So at some point, that's got to unravel. Just depends if it's going to be a slow process or a fast process. And, of course, Ripley does not yet own a victory over Io Sky, right? So at some point, we need that. And will that now have world title implications if they do get to that this year, because of what we learned about with the world champion later on, which I'll talk about. But anyway, it's Ripley and Io. They're challenging the Kabukis, and they win back the Women's Tag Team Championships. I wasn't sure if they would, but they did, beating Kairi and Io Sky. I'm sorry, Kairi and Asuka to win the championships. Big celebration there. They now have the titles, and I don't know, what that means for them. Obviously, they're a tightly bonded team at the moment, but does WWE have plans to split them and have that match where Ripley finally gets that victory over her? And will either of them be involved in the world title scene at WrestleMania? Because I think a lot of people are expecting at least Liv Morgan to be a big part of that. So unless you do a multi-women match, that only leaves one more woman to put in the world title scene if we're assuming it's going to be Liv Morgan, possibly winning the Royal Rumble, maybe even the Chamber, but she's probably going to get in one way or the other there. So Ripley and Io are now tag team champions, and good for them. It was a fun match, and they celebrated. They got the pyro treatment and all that. Gunther comes out to the ring. This was kind of interesting. So Gunther comes out to the ring. He's getting all that Cena heat, right? He is then interrupted by AJ Styles. Now, the two of them had a little backstage tease a couple of weeks ago, so we kind of had a feeling that they were going to go in that direction at some point for a match. And AJ then interrupts, comes out, gets in Gunther's face a little bit, and bitch slaps Gunther right in the face and calls him, nothing or a nobody or whatever, but really slaps him, and then Gunther didn't do anything. Says, "What are you going to do?" And nothing. And then walks away. And then backstage, Gunther goes and whines to Adam Pearce about it, but AJ shows up and says, "Hey, if you want me, let's just do it." And so Adam Pearce books the match for next week, Gunther versus AJ Styles. So we're getting that right off the bat. And if that is going to be, if Gunther is going to hypothetically retire AJ Styles, I kind of was assuming that might be a WrestleMania match, because if Gunther is not going to be involved in the world title scene, and between Roman Reigns and CM Punk and Bron Breakker and Cody Rhodes, I'm not sure if there's any room in there for Gunther. So whatever Gunther does at WrestleMania needs to be of significance, and having a retirement match with AJ Styles could be significant. And I mentioned on the podcast on Saturday that you could book that match very similar to how you booked Shawn Michaels and The Undertaker. Those great WrestleMania matches they had. I'm partial to WrestleMania 25, but the retirement match in 26 was terrific. And you could book them like that, and I think those guys could have a match, close to as good as Taker and Shawn had during those two WrestleManias, for sure. But we're getting the match now. We're getting the match on TV next week. So I don't think we're going to get necessarily a winner next week, but if they are going to do this match at WrestleMania, I don't know how you drag that to Mania now. There's a long way to get there, but you also have the Rumble coming up and the Chamber, so both guys could be essentially involved in those matches. That's probably what they're going to do. If the plans for them was to work Mania, then maybe after the schmaz next week, they fuck each other in the Rumble match, or one screws the other, and then the other one screws them in the Chamber match type of thing, and that drags it out, and then you booked a WrestleMania match. Now you got so much heat that Gunther demands that AJ puts his career on the line. If it goes in that direction, I could see that being the case, which means we wouldn't get a full-blown result next week. So I don't know, but I kind of hope that Gunther retires AJ. That's kind of what I hope they do. And we've heard that AJ's contract runs up pretty soon, but I'd hate for AJ to miss Mania. If AJ is going to retire, and he's going to retire soon, Mania is sitting right there. Please don't do this on some other show. Do it at WrestleMania. Give AJ that moment. He deserves at least that, to have, a Shawn-level match with Gunther and go out like the in-ring stud that he is, one of the greatest in-ring performers ever. Some consider the greatest. So that's kind of how I feel like it should go with AJ, but we'll see how the match with Gunther goes next week. Then it's time for the Intercontinental Championship match. Maxine Dupri, the newly married Maxine Dupri, just a few days ago got married. She's, of course, got to defend her title against the former champion Becky Lynch here, and Becky got the win and won the belt back. She was put in an ankle lock by Maxine, and she somehow rolls through it, gets Maxine into a pinning combination, grabs onto the ropes, and the referee didn't see it. She counts 1, 2, 3, and Becky steals back the Intercontinental Championship. That's really sad. It was a pretty good match. Maxine did well. I felt bad for her. I was kind of hoping that she would retain, but I also understood the possibility that she could definitely drop the title here. I was hoping to see Natalya be a part of this because she's apparently coming back as the Low-Key Legend character or gimmick. She's going to be bringing that to WWE TV, or so we've heard. Remains to be seen if that's going to happen, but she's reportedly or rumored to be bringing that in. So if she does, I was hoping that she would be a part of this here and maybe even turn on Maxine, like Maxine keeping the title, maybe with help from Natty if she comes back as MMA Natty, and then Natty turns on Maxine and then takes the title from Maxine. I'd love to see the IC title go to Natty. I'd prefer it go to Natalya than to Becky Lynch, but Becky Lynch does have it back. Good for her. She's done all she can to really elevate Maxine, and I appreciate that, and I'm not offended in any way by the short run by Maxine. She's very young, and a lot of people question whether she was ready to carry a title like that anyway, so they probably intended to only give her a cup of coffee with the belt, which is what she got, and she can build off that. So I'm not too worried about that. I'm not going to be too overly, analytical about, was she given enough time or whatever. So title changes, man. All these belts in all these companies, they change hands every 5 damn seconds, man. So don't even worry about it that she dropped it back. She'll probably be a 27-time Intercontinental Champion by the time she retires. So no big deal there. But Becky Lynch now is champion again, and you have to wonder if she's now going to move into a feud with AJ Lee or if they continue the Maxine stuff, because Maxine was screwed out of that match or out of that title when Becky cheated. So you would assume she's at the very least going to get a rematch. So we'll see what they do down the line. I did not see, but apparently during the commercial break, Adam Pearce announced that he has signed to Raw Javon Evans. So Javon Evans is a great call-up. Really happy that he's called up permanently, because we've seen him on the main roster a little bit, and I think he's terrific, and he's one of the best call-ups, one of my favorites of the ones they've done this year. So welcome to Raw, Javon Evans. He is going to be fun. The Usos came out to the crowd. They cut a promo together. They encored their intro and all that, and they just said, "We're the champs, yeet." Yay. And then it was time for a little bit of sad news. This fucking sucked. Now, earlier on, I think it was Ryan in the chat, one of you had sent me a couple of tweets letting me know that Stephanie Vaquer is advertised to have some sort of a special interview tonight. So we didn't really know what that was, but they showed Stephanie, walking in the back during the show, and she was in a walking boot on her ankle. And you're like, oh, shit. That sucks. And apparently last week in her title defense against Nikki Bella and Raquel Rodriguez, she was injured. She rolled her ankle or hurt her ankle or something. So she's out there walking around, no crutches, but she is in a walking boot. So she gets in the ring and she cuts the majority of her promo in Spanish. Now, this was weird because she's got emotion in her eyes. You can see her eyes are watery. They're red. She looked like she had been crying. So as we're doing the watch along here, I'm like, well, she is going to forfeit the title. You can see it. And even when she was speaking, she started tearing up a little bit. And it was just like, oh, the air just got let out of me. Because even though you could only, the Spanish that I know, I could decipher about 30% of what she was saying, but she was saying that her injury is not going to stop her. This injury isn't going to stop her. And she's basically not doing what we thought she was going to do based on the emotion on her face, and that is forfeit the title. So she completes her promo, and then her music starts playing, and I'm like, okay, so she's just saying, yeah, I'm hurt, but don't worry, I'm not going to miss any time. And I'm like, that's weird. And then, like a light bulb, it appears from behind. Raquel Rodriguez from behind attacks and beats down Stephanie Vaquer and goes after her ankle and stomps it. And I'm like, oh, okay. They're doing an injury angle. So the reason there was emotion behind Stephanie Vaquer's eyes and the reason you could see it on her face is because she does have to forfeit the title. It was just going to be done in the form of an injury write-off rather than her saying, I'm injured, here's the title. Instead, they had her say, no, I'm going to be fine, and then a heel attacks her. So I did like that. I'm glad that they didn't. I'm glad that they added that wrinkle to it. because they are kind of trying to push Raquel Rodriguez right now, and this is a pretty good way to do it. So she beats the shit out of Stephanie. They go to commercial, they come back, and they're in the back. Stephanie's being helped out by the medical staff, and she's attacked again by Raquel Rodriguez, which might take it too far because Pierce, finally, orders her away. But if Raquel, wants a shot at this title that's now obviously going to be vacant, she probably needs to cool it here before Adam Pierce suspends her or something like that. But he just yelled at her and said he'd fine her if she doesn't get out of there, and she does. So now they're obviously going to forfeit the title there. That sucks for Stephanie. Good news is, without me knowing anything about this injury, if she's in a walking boot and not crutches, she probably didn't break anything. And, a lot of times a broken ankle can require surgery, but a sprained one doesn't. So if she's done something that's just going to keep her on the shelf or requires a rest for 8 to 10 weeks, they've just taken the belt off of her. She'll rehab the injury. She'll be back before WrestleMania. No big whoop. But hopefully it's not more serious. But that was clearly a way to kind of write her off. And now we have the second champion in a row. First Naomi, now Stephanie, who's going to have to vacate this title. So how are they going to crown the new champion? Are they going to be lazy sons of bitches? Because we've had a hell of a lot of fucking world titles vacated, haven't we? Seth Rollins vacated his as well, and they were very lazy crowning that new champion. So I don't expect WWE to do any better with this latest vacancy that we're probably going to have. I don't know if they've made any official announcements on social media, but it seems pretty obvious or clear that they're probably doing that. So are they going to do another battle royal? Are they going to do exactly what they did for the men's match or for the men's situation with Seth vacated? Are they going to be that lazy? Is that how lazy they're going to be? That's my question. Man. That's a shame. But anyway, all the best to Stephanie Vaquer. By the way, if you haven't hit that thumbs up button yet, if you wouldn't mind doing that, I would appreciate it. Just trying to see. My chat seems to have froze. Somebody chat something so I can make sure it's working. Anyway, let's move on with Raw. After that, we had the first singles match back since Liv Morgan's injury. It's Liv Morgan versus Lyra Valkyria. And Liv Morgan picked up the win with the Oblivion there, and Bayley was out there. So was Roxanne Perez. And it was a pretty decent match. I really like Lyra. And Liv, of course, is rumored to have a major role in WrestleMania this year. I mean, that seems obvious wherever that report came from this week. I mean, I think it's pretty clear that Liv Morgan's stock rose 10x during her time last year. Over the past year or so, and hopefully she can kind of pick back up with or where she left off with her momentum, because I'd hate to see that slow down. She was really killing it and crushing it there before her injury, so I think WWE wants to still try to capitalize on that role that she was on and how important she became to the women's division. So a Royal Rumble win or an Elimination Chamber win or something like that, and being involved in the world title scene, to me, is the only thing Liv Morgan can do. So she picked up the big win here over Lyra Valkyria. Good for her. And we'll see what Lyra and Bayley do as we head into next year in WrestleMania. I'm curious to know the details on Bayley's WWE contract, because I feel like she's bouncing to AEW as soon as her contract is up. That's the way it feels. But she might be locked in for a couple of years. We don't know. And Lyra apparently is going to be a big part of the WWE Unreal Season 2. They dropped the trailer today to that. I don't know if you saw that, but a lot of people were talking about it during the watch-along. And it looks interesting for sure. However, it's going to be super annoying because a lot of it is centered around the Seth Rollins injury situation, or the injury, that he suffered on Saturday night's main event against LA Knight, and then he had the briefcase at the time, right? Oh, is he going to forfeit the briefcase or whatever? But from the moment that injury took place, there was speculation. It was in the air. It was floating around out there that this may not be a legitimate injury, that he's going to come back and he's going to cash in on CM Punk at a later date and just make everybody think that he's injured. And so that was on the radar immediately. Now, we didn't really know. Even myself, I said, to me, it kind of looks legit because it looked like it fucked up the match on Saturday night's main event with LA Knight. He looked surprised. They had to go home early on a match they weren't expecting to. So that was all really well done. If they kept LA Knight, if they kept us in the dark there, and they were all in on that, but felt like LA Knight might have been kept in the dark there or whatever it was. But anyway, it feels like on that, WWE is going to be stroking themselves off about what geniuses they are and how they fooled everybody. And I'm like, it was a great moment and whatnot. But even in we did the watch along to SummerSlam that night when Rollins was out there. What was the first thing I was saying? Is he going to drop the crutches? Is he going to spread his arms out and drop the crutches? That's exactly what he did. Everybody knew that it was a possibility. Maybe nobody knew for sure, but we all knew that it was a possibility. And WWE is going to act like they fooled the entire world, that nobody had any fucking clue that they were setting up the big ruse of the century here, and it's just going to be exhausting. So we're going to have to watch that on January 20th. They did drop the trailer today, but come on, WWE. Yes, it was great. It was a great moment and everything. I enjoyed it. We had a blast watching it. But let's not pretend like you fooled the world. I mean, we were talking about it that night. You know, the very first podcast I did after the injury, we were like, is this a work or not? We were trying to figure it out. And we knew that it was a possibility that it was. So anyway, WWE Unreal Season 2 coming on January 20th. I assume Season 3 will cover whatever we see at WrestleMania 42 this year. And then after that, of course, it was time for the main event, the World Heavyweight Championship match, CM Punk versus Bron Breakker. We covered this in the beginning here of the review. CM Punk did retain. He did fend off the entire Vision. He had a little bit of help. Logan Paul and Theory ran out there, and Big Bronson Reed all ran out there to interfere, but they were ran off by Dragon Lee, Penta, and Rey Mysterio, who showed up, brawled with them out through the arena and through the crowd, leaving Punk and Breakker in the ring to contend with themselves. The spot of the match was, my God, scared me shitless, was Bron Breakker jumping off the top rope onto CM Punk on the floor, who was by the table, but he wasn't even laying on the table. Like, he wasn't even going for a Shane McMahon elbow drop. You didn't know what he was going for, and he just launched himself and kind of landed on Punk on the table, through it. It still broke. I don't even know what the hell it was, but it was really gnarly looking, and that was the best spot of the night. And what was great about that is how quickly both guys were up. Breakker immediately grabbed CM Punk, knowing that he's taking him out here, grabs him, throws him in the ring. So props to old man Punk for being able to take a bump like that and then get up. And Breakker too, of course. And then gets him in the ring and immediately goes for the spear. And I think that's when Punk, catches him with a knee or something, or maybe kicked out of the spear first, but then caught him with a knee. And all match long, Punk had the spear pretty well scouted because Breakker never shut up about what his strategy was. Spear 1, 2, 3, spear 1, 2, 3. So Punk was like, okay, I'm not going to let you spear me. And he had that scouted a lot, and he came in with a knee or a kick or something. But anyway, it resulted in a GTS, which Breakker had already kicked out of, a GTS there for the win after Heyman got on the apron and got knocked down. I mean, Breakker had every opportunity in the world, but Punk, being the veteran world champion, top star that he is, wins the match. So I assume on social media there probably are some debates going on. I'm sure out there on the internet there are some people that aren't happy and feel like tonight should have been Bron Breakker's night, and you have every right to feel that way. I have no issue with how this went down. CM Punk beat Gunther, to win the title, and then had to beat Jey Uso to win it again, and he's been champion now, and he's going to be a big part of this year's WrestleMania. So having him lose here to Breakker, and then have him still main event night 2 might be a little bit hard to do. And Breakker, I still think, is going to have his moment. I think 2026 at some point this year, he's going to have his day, whether it be at WrestleMania or SummerSlam. It's coming. I don't think this match or how it was booked is really going to change that, even though maybe admittedly I am a little surprised about that Punk was able to beat him, although I don't know why. WWE, is really pushing that this guy's going to be the next big thing, but he's not there yet. And he's already taken some clean losses to guys like Sami Zayn and Jey Uso and whatnot. So Punk is another guy to put Bron Breakker down. But if he really is the whiteboard favorite to win the Royal Rumble, this loss ain't going to mean shit if he goes out there in the Royal Rumble and he dominates and he winds up winning the title at WrestleMania anyway. But if that's the case, is it going to be Breakker and Punk the rematch at WrestleMania? Is that what we're doing? I don't know if I really want to see that, but Either way, Breakker will still have his moment, and maybe it'll even come as late as SummerSlam. So it just depends. Yes, Zane G, thank you for the $5. How about vacating the Women's Championship and putting it up for grabs at the Rumble? You could do that. You could put the title on the line in the Rumble, which means I don't know what you do with the chamber. I don't know how that works, but yeah, you could if you wanted to do that. The problem, though, is WWE, that would also be like an easy way for them to do it. They are lazy as all fuck. That would be a kind of a lazy solution, but one that would be interesting. It's always interesting when the title's on the line in the Rumble. It's happened a few times. It's cool. If they do it for the women, cool. I'm worried that WWE is going to be even lazier than that and kind of do what they did with the men. All right, let's just hold a battle royal, and then the final two face each other. Isn't that what they did or whatever? And then you just have the match, no surprises, no nothing. And that's all they do. I feel like it's going to be something like that, which sucks. And if it is, do you give it to Raquel? And then maybe you build something with her and Morgan at Mania? I don't know. Delayed Gratz, no, I don't think Punk winning clean means that Breakker is not in the main event picture because you still got the Rumble. There is plenty of time for Breakker. Even after Mania, there's plenty of time for him. But I'm not ruling him out yet of winning at Mania. I think winning the Royal Rumble erases this loss, makes you completely forget. So I'm not too worried about it yet. Fans do tend to live in the moment, and when something happens that they deem a mistake or they consider a mistake, they kind of think like it's over after that. Now there's like no coming back. There's like wrestling tomorrow. There's like a whole nother show next week, and then the week after, and the week after, and the week after, and the week after. It just never stops. So, a loss on one show, in the grand scheme of the timeline of the business, usually isn't going to be a career killer. And losing to a star like Punk, who has big wins over monsters already, the biggest monster currently in the company, Gunther, who's retiring bitches left and right, Punk was able to beat him. So I don't think it's that big of a deal. But I can understand that there is going to be some shock out there. Stone Cold says Cody and Roman 3 ruins WrestleMania 40 and that story. I don't know if it ruins it because you do need to see the tiebreaker. We need that. That match has to happen. For me, though, my thing is it just doesn't have to happen at WrestleMania, at least for me as a fan. I don't feel like it needs to happen there unless WWE wants the trilogy all at Mania. And I can see them wanting to do that. But for me, I'd be fine with the third one happening at SummerSlam or something like that. I don't need it to be at WrestleMania. So the Cody and Roman match is debatable. I'm not against the match happening at all. I just don't know if I want to see it at WrestleMania since we've already seen it twice. And you got matches like Cody and Punk there that I think would be super intriguing. And again, you can do Cody and Punk at SummerSlam. It doesn't have to be WrestleMania either. So as much as I want to see Cody and Punk at WrestleMania, it doesn't have to be there. It can easily be at SummerSlam. And that would be a lot of fun too. That would be a fun-ass summer program. Punk and Cody. I'd be into that too. So, we'll see what WWE does. Right now, Cody and Roman 3 isn't my favorite pick. It isn't my top pick for WrestleMania, but it doesn't matter. I'm not the one booking the match. So if WWE does it, it certainly doesn't mean I'm in favor of it because that's not the match I really want either. You can give us that down the line anywhere. But yeah, you could even do Cody and Roman without the title. Sure. Yeah, you're going to hear, buried. I think the word buried will be trending because fans think losing to a multiple-time world champion, one of the top stars in the entire business across multiple companies, losing to that person is a burial. That's the way fans think. It's okay. You become numb to it. I mean, I've been doing YouTube 15 years now. At some point, you just don't give a shit what they say. Because it just never ends. The next generation just keeps getting dumber, so it's only going to get worse. So let them talk about people getting buried all they want. Bron Breakker is going to be just fine. Bron Breakker is going to win money and win world championships and main event WrestleManias and be a Hall of Famer. And the win or the loss tonight to CM Punk is not going to do anything to get in the way of that long term. Anyway, 5 more from Zayn, and then I think I'm going to bounce out of here. How about building package after package, then bringing Jericho in the night after Mania, and then building for his rematch at SummerSlam? What the fuck is package after package? Then bringing Jericho. Oh, okay, you mean like video package. And then building for his match at SummerSlam. Yeah, that could be fine too. Bringing the night after WrestleMania on Raw, we need some big moments, and a Jericho return would be perfect, and that could set him on his course for his retirement program. That would be fine. The thing about Jericho is it's important to him to keep everybody on their toes. So I think whenever we think we're going to see Jericho, we're probably not. Why we didn't see him tonight. That's why they dropped hints, thinking we could see him tonight, and then we didn't. This is all on purpose, so this is what Jericho loves to do. So he's going to try to come back probably in the most surprising way, and it could be at any moment. And that's the cool thing about a return like this, or one this big where we know, all right, they're going to be coming in. Keep a lookout for them. Is between now and WrestleMania, which is still 3 or 4 months off, you can see him turn up at any moment. From this Friday in Germany to WrestleMania to the night after WrestleMania. It could happen really anywhere, the Rumble, wherever, but we're going to see him, and it's kind of fun just to sit here and wait and wonder when he's going to appear before us. Yeah, Ronish, I'm kind of with you. I would like to see Raquel maybe win this, them take advantage of. It's one of my complaints with WWE with the last title forfeiture is they don't take advantage of unfortunate situations and try to use them to their advantage and try to take a negative and turn it into much of a positive as they can, or, just utilize it. It's a shitty situation. So what can we do to make this shitty situation less shitty? Let's take this opportunity to give Raquel a title run that she might not necessarily have gotten otherwise. So this is a good opportunity to give her a run, see how she does as world champion. It can be short, and then she's right there in the same faction with Liv Morgan. Liv wins the Rumble, and now you got a thing there, and boom, there's your storyline. Yes, I'm 100% into that. You could even factor in Roxanne if you wanted to, but Liv and Raquel might be enough. Since Raquel is kind of teaming with Roxanne anyway, Liv can be odd girl out there, and it can be a program going into Mania, and maybe Liv kind of goes babyface. I don't know. Maybe they kick her out of Judgment Day. Liv gets booted out, and she's now a babyface, and maybe Dom comes back as a babyface. I don't know. Am I stretching it there? And it's Raquel winning the title, and then maybe Liv winning the Rumble. And there you go. But then you got a lot of weeks of build there. So you got to find ways to keep that interesting if you're going to run an angle that long, especially one as predictable as that with Liv winning the belt at WrestleMania. If you just do the match between the two of them, Liv wins the Rumble, or Raquel wins the title, and then Liv wins the Rumble, you know what's going to happen. So you got to make that better than, holy shit, that's the most predictable shit ever. We'll see. We will see. All right, guys, I think that's going to do it for me tonight. I want to thank everyone who hung out this evening during the watch-along. I really appreciate it. That was fun. Wish the show would have been a little bit more interesting, but, we still made the best of it. It's been a fun 3 nights of streaming, so stay tuned to the channel. Got a lot of stuff. Got so much shit in the works. It's just a matter of when I can find time to kind of work on it and put it out there. But lots of stuff coming to Patreon, YouTube Shorts, all that stuff. It's piling up, so I will do better about getting on top of that here in 2026. Thank you again for being here this evening, and I will be talking to you guys later this week, and of course we'll be here on Saturday for the podcast. Right on. We'll have a great, great rest of your Monday night. Take care, and we'll be talking to you real soon. Peace.